So today we're going to look at one of maybe the most famous stories in the Bible, if not the most, certainly one of the most. Everybody's heard it, at least some version of it, I imagine. And there really are a bunch of really profound lessons that are taught in this parable of Jesus. You can take your pick. They're all good, wonderful applications. And I think most all of them are needed in some way. But we're going to look at least one of them, at least for me, that is really the most important lesson. But, for this week, let's let some old friends come along and tell you the story of the Good Samaritan. Okay, Brandon, this is where you play the video. Hopefully you cut back in and we're good. The actual story of the Good Samaritan, the parable itself is an answer to the question that the lawyer had when he asked, "Who is my neighbor?" That's really what prompted the story. And the most obvious lesson is found in the question that Jesus asked and the answer that the expert lawyer gives, and then what Jesus says back to him. It's all found really in two verses in Luke chapter 10, verses 36 and 37. Which of these three do you think was a neighbor to the man who fell into the hands of the robbers? The expert in the law replied, the expert in the law replied back to him his understanding of the law when he said, "The one who had mercy on him." And Jesus told him, "Go and do likewise." So in the parable, there are three men who passed by the beaten man in the road: a priest, a Levite, and a Samaritan man. Sounds like the beginning of a good church joke, if you ask me. Or if we were to say it in the language of our day, we would say two really, really religious guys and a social outcast, an unclean, spiritually bankrupt, mixed race, pagan fellow. And in this case, a guy that was despised and rejected by both the Jews and the Gentiles, because that was the Samaritans. But in the story, it was only the Samaritan who stopped and showed compassion on the man. You would think that the religious men would be compelled to stop and help, not the unlikely Samaritan outcast. And afterwards, Jesus says, "Go and do likewise." Why? Because it was the right thing to do? Because it was the humane thing to do? Yeah, maybe in part. Man, this story is such an amazing glimpse into the heart of humanity. This story could so easily be a description of us. characteristics of the uncaring. Why didn't those two stop and help? Could it be more than just fear that drove them to pass by on the other side? Yeah, it was a dangerous road. I think that is historically accurate. Or maybe there's some more human element to this. Maybe they were self-absorbed. You know, priests and Levites were important men. For us, it takes a lot of work and attention to care about ourselves and our family. It's demanding. It's time-consuming. We have to be concerned about our business, our jobs, our budgets, our houses, our cars, our marriages, our kids, our health, our insurance, our retirement, our futures, our enjoyment, our recreation, our sleep, our meals. It's just exhausting to think about everything that it takes to be us. Who has time to stop and help others? Or maybe they were in too big of a hurry. You know, priests and Levites, they were busy men doing God's work. Us, we have thousands of demands on us, it seems like. So easy when we see people in need to say, God, sorry, dude, got too busy today. Sometimes we're too isolated. Priests and Levites, they were the religious elite. Maybe getting messy and dirty and bloody was below their pay grade. Us? We just run real fast. We don't slow down. In doing so, we don't let people know the real us. We are often the masters of small talk and superficiality, and it allows us just to keep moving past people in need. It's really easy to think that somebody else will help. Somebody else's gift to do that. Somebody else's job. Around our office here at North Point, we have sort of a unspoken rule that whoever answers the door has to deal with whoever comes to the door. It's not really true. We'd like to think that it is. Because you know what? If I'm too busy to answer the door, then I'm obviously too busy to help the person that comes to the door. It's almost like we think that problems will take care of themselves. Just take care of themselves. You wait long enough, problems fade away, right? It's kind of like answering emails, that if you don't answer them long enough, they fade away. Or here's an ugly truth. Sometimes, a lot of the time, uncaring people are often too busy being judgmental of those people who are in need. That's what the guy got for walking on that side of the mountain. He should have known it was dangerous over there. He had no business being there. He probably got what he deserved. Why does Why does his problem have to become my emergency? He created it himself. I'll tell you this, I don't think this story is in the Bible just to make sure our kids learn to be nice to their friends. No, I think it's much deeper than that, much more demanding than that. This story is Jesus calling on us to be neighbors to everyone. No matter how much trouble they're in, or no matter how much hurting is going on, even our enemies, to love them and pray for those who are different from us, help those who are in need, not be afraid of those who are persecuting us. Because Jesus' love is like that. Look, caring about others, I think it can be learned, but it cannot be faked. Caring about the needs and the feelings and the reputations, about those things that are important to other people, it takes real compassion. It takes a willingness to not just intellectually understand the mess that they are in, but to feel it deep inside. That's what compassion is. That's what real love is. That's what real sincerity is, that flows from the heart. Our motives will eventually show. They always do, no doubt. So how do we learn to become caring people? I think the answer is found in a more hidden, but I think greater lesson in this parable. You see, the Good Samaritan in this story, it's not us. It's not designed to be us. Secondarily, we can make that application, but it is not us. Certainly, the example of compassionate caring is for us. Jesus even said, "Go and do likewise." But in the story, the Samaritan is not us. That's not our role in this story. Nor are we the priest or the Levite. Even though their shallow spirituality and their uncaring behavior and their self-centeredness can look a whole lot like us much of the time. Now, the real point of this story is not that we are the merciful ones doing the good work of compassion, even though we should be. Nope. We are the man stripped and beaten and left for dead on the side of the road. That's the character that we are to identify with in this story. We are the ones without hope, in need of rescuing, in need of healing. We are the ones in need of a good Samaritan. The story of the Good Samaritan shows us there is no way to recover on our own from what really ails us. Oh yeah, who's the Samaritan in the story? Ought to be easy for us to figure out now. It's Jesus. The one who was despised and rejected by both the Jews and the Gentiles. The one who was looked at as the social outcast. the one condemned by the evil empire to be crucified as a common criminal, even though he was innocent of the crimes. Yeah, that same Jesus. That same Jesus is the Good Samaritan, the Lord of all creation, the Good Shepherd, the Rescuer, the Redeemer, the one who bandages our wounds and picks us up and pays our debt and carries us home. Do you think the priest or the Levite became caring people simply by watching what the Samaritan did or hearing about it secondhand from somebody else? I doubt it. Do we become compassionate, caring people just because someone tells us we're supposed to be? I don't think so. But do you think that the man who was left for dead, but was rescued and cared for, do you think that guy might have also had a changed heart because of the experience? Yeah, probably. That's what has a tendency to happen. When you're sorry, broken, left on the side of the road, life gets rescued. And you begin to realize that you have been brought back to life from the dead. Yeah, there are some great things that happen when we start to realize that. You see, caring for others happens when you come to know that you are being cared for. I think that's why this parable is here for us. The theme of all human history is that God has taken the initiative to rescue us, to act compassionately on our behalf, to act with loving kindness to those who are powerless to help themselves. Friends, we cannot bind our own wounds of the soul. We cannot fix our own problems and clean up our own messes because, frankly, the price is too steep and the enemy is too great. And this is what we remember when we gather around the table of communion. Through his death on the cross and his resurrection from the grave, Jesus becomes our Good Samaritan. Till next time, see ya.